Welcome to 173 TV, and today we are here with my government surplus auction car. I bought this for $1,300, and we are going to fix it, get it back up on the road, and hopefully flip it, make some money, and stack that into progressively cooler and gnarlier whips. Stay tuned. So again, I bought this without ever looking at it, no inspection, sight on scene, $1,300. It's 14 Kia Forte, 80K miles, and you can already see we got the hood up and the lights out. And the first challenge was the fact that this car did not come with keys. And I remedied that. I went to a local locksmith and got a laser cut key that does start it like every 16th try. You gotta unplug the battery, let this thing be dormant for a little while, hook it all back up and crank it, and it does work. The car does start, and it doesn't rod knock. We love that. We're stoked. Which leads to the catch. Turned it on, put it in drive, and absolutely nothing happened except despair and sadness. So this thing doesn't have reverse or any gear, for that matter. Just finished pushing it in to my carport. It'll be a garage someday, bear with me. But yeah, no transmission. So I looked up online, and a replacement transmission for one of these cars is about $500-ish. We got the lights out, ready to shine, and let's make ourselves some room and see how deep we have to go if we're going to take on swapping out the transmission. So we've begun the process of moderately disassembling the front end of the Forte, and we're going to get underneath here because I've been super curious about the condition of the transmission fluid. 24 millimeter, if you were wondering. So let's go ahead and see what the fluid looks like. Oh, why did it have to tighten up? Oh, sugar plums. Sometime today, please. Oh, mama. I wouldn't call myself a transmission expert, but when the fluid is that dark and the disco party, you have disco party in your transmission. I love that meme, but I would say that this transmission is assured to be done. No need to confirm. Woo, that is bad. That is probably the worst drain plug I've ever seen off of a transmission. I mean, that is crazy. I have been cleaning this for a little bit now, and there is still material all over this thing. We've had the tunes cranking, and we've gotten a lot of progress. The whole front is the front clip is basically off the car. We just want to make a ton of room. That way there's no obstructions when we start really digging into and pulling the transmission. So I think we're going to end the night here. Really good progress. We have gotten every converter bolt out of the car. There are 4, and as you turn the motor, there's where they meet with the flex plate. So the next step is getting these axles out of the transmission, which I am not looking forward to. I think the best case for those is going to be putting WD-40 and PB Blaster, letting it sit for a day or two, and praying that with a little bit of persuasion they come out. But I'm not that optimistic. So as you can see, we have removed both axles out from the car. I got a little bit of tension up on the bottom of the motor, so that way we can begin with the bell housing bolts. We gotta get the starter out. We have to do a couple other things to disconnect. Well, in case you couldn't tell, I have been at war with this Kia, and I am proud to announce, and ignore that, it is, we'll come back to that, but the transmission is out of the Forte. So we have so much more room for activities now, and again, I will stabilize this at a safer alternative method. But it is crazy just to think about the fact that right now this thing is floating. Like, really, I could drop this whole engine right now just by undoing these top couple of mounts, and obviously the exhaust, and this thing would just drop down. But Now is the fun part, which is going to get the next transmission. I was going to pull that off of the jack and lift it up, and let me tell you, heavy. Big girl. Big booty Judy over here. So I don't know how successful we're going to be getting it into the car to take as a core. Stay tuned. But nevertheless, now we do everything in reverse. And oh my, that is going to get real saucy. So assuming that nothing else comes up, we should put this all back together, get it washed, inspected, and hopefully back on the road. I've seen a couple of things we'll fix while we're here, but it's going to be a night here. Whatever night number that is, I don't know, but we have pulled the transmission, and that's a great way to end it. It is another day, and a cold one at that. We have just gotten back from the salvage yard, and we got ourselves a brand new transmission, and it is already getting ahead, messing up the old garage floor. But this is the issue with doing a job like this, is that it opens up Pandora's box, or the rabbit hole of like, well, while you're here, you might as well do ... And you could sit here all day and, oh, while you're here, do this. While you're here, do that. But there are some that you just need to do because it's easy to replace. And the first big one is this power steering boot. And it is, it's less than stellar. But behind here is obviously, it's an internal part of the rack. And if you let dirt, road grime, and debris get in there, gums it up. And then you're going to have to take out the steering rack, which, to be quite honest, probably isn't the most desirable thing to do. And I checked around. Naturally, the dealer was the only person that had it. So that's basically, it was $69 and change. So $70 right there. But to not have to do a power steering rack, I'll gladly pay $70. And again, I want to put my name on this when I sell it. And could I zip tie that and make it cool? Yeah. Is that cool? No. Shame on you. The other one is the AC compressor. And obviously, there's a lot of room for activities and to undo it. And when I had tested the Schrader valve, it had no pressure in the system anyway. So gonna take a wild guess and say that it was broken. So $100 at a local salvage yard will get me a new compressor, and it does have a warranty. So for now, these two things are gonna be while you're there, take care of that. So without further ado, let's start this whole pony show in reverse. It is a balming 29 degrees outside. Northeast things, off season, whatever. We're out here grinding, because if you don't grind, you don't shine. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself, because it is cold. I know I said 29, that was me being dramatic. It's 36 degrees outside, but when your carport is exposed to the elements, a little cold out. So we're gonna see if we can do something to address that. To try and prevent from getting blistering cold, I got the old space heater plugged in, and I've gone back to my fort making days. I'm turning into outdoor boys out here. I know it's not gonna retain any heat, but I'm just using these as windbreaks to try and stay a little bit warm than what I am right now. All right, so we have gotten the transmission back and kinda mounted. The hard mount, and I think I've done a bunch of the bell bolts. Actually, there are 3 left out of the 8. So we can now place down our nice carpet and begin to work on finishing the install. Believe it or not, man, our little space heater and our windshield / wind brakes have been putting in some work. It is so much more tolerable. And I am stoked on that. With the wind, it was 34 degrees last time I checked, and we were on that struggle bus. But with this little heater and some shields, man, it is so much better. So let's get ourselves a Celsius and get back to work. Maybe some tunes too, who knows. So it is just past 8 o'clock. We've been putting in work, and we have basically 98% completed getting this transmission back into the Kia. I'm not gonna lie, I had to reference a few of my photos that I took, but all of our electronics are back into their respective areas. I got the starter plugged back in with its respective grounds and wires. So I have to leave the linkage undone just to keep this in neutral, because our next course of action is going to be getting the axles back into their home. Now, kids, remember, before you just go shoving in your axle, you gotta make sure you get that thing nice and lubricated. All right, so we have one axle back in its home, and of course, the other axle is back in its home. And I have a lot of the bolts just kind of lightly put in place. It's a good stopping point. It's nearly 9 o'clock. And it is another night under the lights. We have just gotten back from the yard with our brand used AC compressor. And while I was out, I got some spark plugs because I'm starting to see the trend that a lot of maintenance was overlooked. We're gonna wait to do the oil change and top off the transmission until we have done the reseals on both the front case and the oil pan. So some people might ask, why are you doing that if this is a flip car and you're trying to make the most money possible? Well, I'm also not trying to run a Matilda car sale out here, I'm not trying to fill the transmission with sawdust and cut corners. Like, I want to be able to put my name on this and be able to sell it with full confidence. And, I had the paperwork to prove my work, and it just makes it more marketable, I took the extra steps, I went the extra mile, and yes, it's a Kia, but it could be your Kia. We got some nice snow laid down, but we're in here, and we are back another day. We have gone on quite a pilgrimage to get these parts, let me tell you. What was supposed to be an hour drive to and from turned into a 4-hour drive to various dealerships to get the parts today rather than from 3 days from now. So, without further ado, let's get back into it. So we got the pan off. I have scraped away all of the previous gasket, and it's clean, ready for the pan. Looking underneath it, she's a little dirty. Everything is where it's supposed to be, though, and, it's a little dirty, but whatever. No big deal. Just everything looks all right. So now we move on. Now we move on to cleaning the gasket off of the pan, cleaning it, and getting it back in service. I'm going to throw you guys on the time lapse. And the part that we have all been waiting for. So we have gotten our pan clean for the most part, and we are going to lay a bead of silicone all the way around the pan and put it back into the car, but only hand tight. Directions say hand tight, let it sit for an hour so that way it gets tacky and produces that seal. So we'll put it in hand tight, go grab dinner real quick, come back out, torque it to spec, tight as one would say. We'll make the noise. And then we'll move on to the transmission. We've gotten the transmission cover off, and there is the gasket that will be replaced. The valve body I was just looking at, and it looks very clean. So for 30 some odd thousand miles, I'm stoked. Definitely stoked, right? So if you don't know and you haven't seen one, this is your valve body. It's electronically controlled, and basically by controlling fluid going to different valves, it will make your first, second, third, fourth, and overdrive, etc. work through a combination of sending fluid through different valves. It's pretty cool, but to me, it's like a gosh darn Rubik's Cube, man. Like that's where automatic transmissions kind of gets out of my realm. I would love to take one apart and really dive into how they work, but it is intimidating. So let's get our surfaces cleaned and get this thing back in service. The weather has definitely been less than ideal, but I can proudly say that we have gotten the car to pass a Maryland state inspection. It is good to go. However, it did need some repairs. Well, what exactly did it need? And I knew getting it through inspection, it was probably going to need a few more things. to name a few. We needed, on the passenger side, the outer tie rod and the inner. We needed the power steering rack boot on the other side. Love that. We needed both rear shocks. We also needed the flex pipe replaced in the exhaust because there was an exhaust leak, and we also needed to replace the entire exhaust manifold, and these are supposed to be together. I understand that. I had to get a little creative. It also needed the driver's side mirror. It would go left to right in adjustment and not up and down. So we got us another one. So the car runs, it drives. It has been given the check mark of approval for the state inspection. And you might be wondering, well, what's the catch? Oh, and believe me, it's a big one. I'm going to tell you about it. And let me start by saying I followed all of the factory specs. It has the proper fluid in it. It has been circulated. It has been put to the proper level. I did not drive the car because you have to program the transmission to this car. Apparently, you have to scan the QR code for parts to work on cars nowadays. So it was towed to the dealership. The transmission was programmed by a tech, and they went over it with all of their gizmos and schematics. So after the check, drove it home. Again, not even 100 miles. And this car proceeded to show me, I think, every possible warning light you could on the dash. And that in there lies where we are. And these codes are not the codes you want to see on a new transmission. I'll put them here below me, but basically the three were the torque converter was having a stuck issue with the TCC system. The synchro for gear 1 was incorrect, so it couldn't tell what gear it was in. And finally, the temperature sensor read high, fault, or just not working. There was a fourth one, and that one is arguably the worst of them all, but it doesn't have anything to do with the transmission. But let's take a look at this dash. So, on the way home, it was flashing all the good lights, you know. Never, ever want to see a blinking check engine light. And the car is in limp mode, and you might ask, why is that? Well, you know, you can floor it, and it won't go above 2,000 RPM. And that is because the knock sensors are activating. So it's sensing engine knock consistent with rod knock or something, and I didn't hear anything at all. Motor sounded smooth. Again, I couldn't go over 2,000 RPM, so I limped it home at like 35 miles an hour, which on a public roadway is nice. We love that. Then this morning, when I went to move it in here to get the transmission ready to come back out, because it has to come back out to get fixed, or at least warrantied. And as you can hear, this thing is knocking like the rent collector. Not what we want. So where do we go from here? So I was planning on pulling the transmission because I kept my receipt and it was warranted from the yard that I got it from. And they saw my codes and said, no problem, ma'am. Bring us back the transmission and we'll exchange it for a new one, no charge. Awesome. Already plan on pulling the transmission anyway. Now that the engine's knocking, looks like we're doing both. And on YouTube, they make this look so easy, and I am not making this stuff up. You can't make this up. This is supposed to be the sell it part of the video. We make our money, we show the profits, and then we move on to the next one. But unfortunately, if I even want to sell this car now, I have to pull the motor and the transmission. And we have a smidge more room on budget. It's going to depend on a lot of things. But this is a new skill for me. And one thing that I have been seeing a lot of lately online is that if you want to be successful at something, you need to get yourself in so deep The only option is to succeed. And let me tell you, we're definitely there. This is all the more reason that if you're going to work on a car, work on something you like. Otherwise, if it doesn't work out, you're going to be stuck with it. And let me tell you, a 14 Kia Forte is slowly becoming my favorite vehicle. But we are going to end the video here for part 1. And I hope you guys have enjoyed so far. If you have, like, comment, subscribe. Because part 2 will be following, where we're going to pull the motor and the transmission, get this thing on the road. Part 2, sold, money back in the pocket, and hopefully there's some profit left. Gotta pay for dinner at McDonald's somehow, right? You know? So this has been 173 TV, and I'll see you guys on the next one. There it goes. Thankfully, the shovel just saved that shot. I love that. It may seem like a lot. I take on challenges so that you don't have to. Now, yeah, start small. And things are escalating. I would say, in an effort to try it to me, oh God, it's so cold, I'm stuttering my own words. Last time I took the mood lighting.